Masterclass with Ntokozo Msane. Please may give him a round of applause as he comes onto the stage. Over to you, Ntokozo.
Good day, Sanmonani. Good day, Sanmonani. Igama lami nguNtokozo Msane. I work for the organization called IKUMESA, which is the KwaZulu-Natal United Music Industry Association. We are based here in Durban, and our organization mainly focus on the economic side within the music space, because there are quite a lot of challenges that people always encounter with their musical works, especially when it comes to rights, monetization, and the list is endless. We all know and we've seen so many people on social platforms crying out loud, or in fact complaining that they were not compensated correctly, or rightful so. So there are quite a lot of challenges that are out there in the space as far as the music is concerned. So we were actually tasked by the Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs just to go and do a bit of research as to, does music actually make money? And if music makes money, why so many people in the creative space, especially on the music sector, they die so-called as paupers? Meaning that we know that they were very famous, they were driving fancy cars on TV, obviously, television, and they were seen in spaces that are quite big, but now when the day comes, there's no money. So we did a study, and we did find out that there's a lot of money in music. And there's always a saying that says, every time music is played, it gets paid. And the question is, who is actually getting paid? Because definitely somebody is getting paid. So, looking at the rights, contracts, legal compliances in film and television, those are the things that I'm going to be answering through my very short presentation. And hopefully, there's so much that we're all going to learn. Just a quick introduction through the topic that we are going to be navigating. It's the music rights, royalties, contract, and rights arrangement. And as I said, my name is Ntokozo. I'm a project manager. I design projects for the organization so that at least when we go out to the people of KZN, because we represent the whole entire KZN with all 11 districts and 47 local municipalities, we know exactly what are the issues. They basically touch those issues, and they actually become answers to those problems that we are facing in the music space. I'm also a music business consultant, an entrepreneur, a songwriter. I also write music, and I'm very passionate on research when it comes to music. And I'm just going to share something that you could also go home and just have a look, which is a study that was published on the 18th of March 2025 by the IFPI, which is the International Phonographic, it's the International Federation, it's the International Federation of Phonographic Industries. And they have mentioned that globally, the music sector contributed about 31.7 billion US dollars. That's how much money was generated by music globally. But the interesting part is South Africa, because this is where we are. And we received about 1.4 billion. That's how much money came to South Africa. Now the question is, who is going to get paid? Right. And Mr. Kozo was here earlier on. He did touch based on the intellectual property, which I think he did an amazing work. And it's actually what I'm also going to touch based on, because the music itself is an intellectual property, because it's something that is derived from your mind, from the internet. And intellectual property on its own, it is basically be a unit trained in the music industry. So if you do not understand the intellectual property and the power that is carried by the intellectual property on its own, then you're not going to be part of the people who are going to receive the 1.4 billion rands that was distributed to South African music industry. And that's where the problem is. Because most of the times when we come into the music space, the only thing we think of is the stage. We just want to be seen on the stage. We want to be famous. And we lose the fortune while we're in the midst of chasing the fame. So, what does intellectual property provide you? It provides you with the legal and economic framework that allows the creators and the owner of the actual creation to control how they use to generate the income. So, when you own your own intellectual property, you have the privilege to utilize it properly, so that it can economically benefit you as the creator. So when you wrote something, you own it. What then protects us as creators in the music space? That's the copyright. So for somebody who wants to come and copy my work or use my work, I have to give that particular individual a permission to use my work. And in return, they need to compensate me, either economically or morally. When I say morally, let me say I'm a vegan. And maybe someone wants to do a marketing ad for a chicken. I could say no, because I'm a vegan, and that's moral so. But economic aspect side of that is that when you come and you want to use my work, because I invented it, I have the privilege to tell you how much in terms of percentage do I want from the work that you are going to reproduce. So now can you imagine if you do not own your copyright or maybe your intellectual property? It means that somebody else has the privilege to detect what they are going to use with that intellectual property, with that actual copyright of your musical works. They detect the moral rights, they detect the economic rights within the framework of copyright. In the music terms, there are two categories under the copyright law, which is basically the music composition. When we speak of the music composition, we speak of who are the writers of the actual works. And there are two writers in the music. One is a lyricist who writes lyrics. The second writer is a composer, someone who makes the beat in simple terms. So those are the two copyright owners in a song. There is an additional member on top of the composition, which is known as a publisher. Now, quite often people always mistake a publisher and a songwriter. A publisher is a person or a company that represents songwriters. The second right is the sound recording, or also called as the master right. Most of the people we've seen on social media, people fighting for the master rights, and they even give it a name. I'm not going to go there for now, but they give it a name. They said XX masters. So now, what is basically the master right? It basically covers the specific recording. Because remember, the first right deals with the people who wrote. Now we're taking what these people wrote and we go to the studio to record. That's a different right on its own, and there is economic return on the master side, so as there is economic return on the music composition. In other words, if you wrote music, you can get paid from the composition side. And if it happens that you own what you wrote and you paid for the recording of what you wrote, you own the second right, which is the master right. Now you are getting paid twice for one composition. So again, if you sell the intellectual property, you've just given away all those rights. And someone is going to dictate what they want to do with those rights. So it becomes whether it's something that you wish to do or something that you don't wish to do. The master also goes a bit further because now, on the sound recording itself, it's not only the person who paid for the recording to take place, right? There is also people who are recording artists, meaning that whose voices are on the sound recording itself. So be it a leading vocal of that particular song, so be it backing vocalist. This also even includes instrumentalists. They are part of the sound recording because their fingers are actually on the sound record. So be it they were playing a bass, a piano, a lead guitar, but their fingers are actually printed on the sound recording. They have a share on the master side. So they need to go also to the respective collective management organizations that license music so that they can be compensated every time the sound recording is being used. As I said earlier on, every time it plays, it's get paid. So the rights basically grants the creators exclusive rights to their creation, including reproduction. So if you want to do a reproduction of your own song, you don't need to go past a publisher or maybe a record label that owns the composition for them to grant you the right, because you own the right. It gives you an exclusive right to do a reproduction. It also gives you the right to distribute. If you want to distribute your musical works to any platforms, you don't need anybody to tell you because these are your own creations. It gives you the right also to take your musical works for the public performances. So be it featured in a movie, in a TV show, or wherever, whereby your musical rights will be publicly performed. It grants you to all those rights. And there was also a question that was imposed on all of the master classes that said, what if I use someone's song? If you use someone's song, they have a right to issue a copyright strike to remove their musical work because they have never granted you the right to copy their work. Simple as that. If you want to use someone's work, you need to go through a company that these people are signed under, or the original owner of that particular individual is not signed anyway. They need to grant you the rights. There's something called a clearance letter that they need to sign to clear that you are eligible to use their copyright. Otherwise, you are infringing on someone's copyright. To also take it a bit further as well, I've just prepared this very nice presentation again, just to show you what more rights are under this bundle of rights that I've just mentioned. And you just keep on hearing rights, and you're like, everything is right. Of course it is. So it gives you the right of reproduction, exclusive right of adaptation to create derivable works. Remember that there are so many ways that one property can be exploited. You can reproduce, you can adapt the very same song, but if you own it, you don't need someone's consent. Exclusive rights of distribution, exclusive rights of public performance, exclusive rights of public display, exclusive rights of public performance of a sound recording. Remember, now when you have your sound that is out there in a musical form, the two rights applies in one. As I've just separated the two rights, which is a composition on the other side for the people who wrote and a master for the people who paid for the project and whose their voices are on the soundtrack. Let us look at the sound recording rights. The sound recording rights protect the specific recording of the song. So, there is money that is involved every time the sound recording is being used. I'll just make an example. Let me say your song is featured in a movie, and then it plays. Yay! Maybe it's on an SABC channel, because SABC, we know that they pay a blanket license that covers all their platforms that they actually use. So, on that specification play, there are two companies that will collect if it is the radio, or maybe if it's TV. Let's start with the radio side. If it is radio, there is Sambro collecting for performing rights because your song is performing. Even though you are not there, but your song is performing. And at the same time, Sambra, which administered the sound recording rights, they are also collecting. As I mentioned earlier on, that if you wrote, you are going to get paid separately. If you perform or you own the sound recording, again you get paid differently. So your organizations like Sambra and Impra, they are one and the very same organizations. It's like, Chicken Licken and KFC. You choose which one works better for you, but they are one. It's just one and the very same. They operate on different, but you can just pick any. They administer rights that are called neighboring rights or nickel time rights. So every time it plays, they collect mainly for the master owners of the actual sound. So these are the organizations. So this also includes UREV, which is called RISA Audiovisual. Remember now, if you go on a screen, which is a TV, now you are mixing audio and visual. So REV will collect on behalf of the master owners if there is audio and visual. Whereas if it's just audio, Sambra then collects. So you have to be a member of these organizations. You need to do the administration. The administration part is that you have to be a member, that's number one. Number two, you need to ensure that you notify your works. So notifying is mainly going to each and every organization or collective management organization's profile or platform. You go and click the notification button to say, these are my musical works, for them to know who to pay. And also remember, when you do music, you need to ensure that the information that is actually on the song is correct. What do I say the information of the song? When you do or your post-production, which is called mixing and mastering, that's the phase where you write the information of the song. The title of the song needs to be on the song. People who participated in the song, your composers, your authors, your instrumentalists that played on the song, your leading vocals, your backing vocals, everyone that participated on the project, information needs to appear on the file, including the fingerprint, which is a code that is actually assigned by URISA, which is Recording Industries of South Africa. URISA is one of, I always call URISA like the Home Affairs of music, because before you release your music, you have to be a member of URISA, and then URISA, they give you a unique identification code that starts with a country or a registration of that particular country where you reside. And then in South Africa, the old code was ZA. They now have just recently given us ZB. So if your musical works happen to be played somewhere else, with that ZB being part of the information of the song, they already know that this sound recording or this musical work belongs to South Africa. The second code is called the registrant code, which speaks to your name. It will have maybe like 2 initials and a different ID code. Then the third is basically year of reference on when those musical works were produced or distributed. The last segment, it's just 0001, meaning how many songs you have delivered or you've given birth to for that particular year. So that information has to be part of the project, so that they know when the musical works are being used wherever across the whole globe, they know which this musical works, they belong to so and so, this country, when it was produced, what number it is on your album, or is it an EP, depending on what you have on the musical works. So, Rev and Echo, they are just one and the very same company again. It's like Sambra and Impra, you just choose which one works best for you. Composition rights. Now the composition rights, they speak to the underlying music and lyrics of the song. Remember, we're just focusing mainly on the master rights. So now we're focusing on the composition side, which speaks to the people who wrote the actual music. So it protects the underlying musical and the lyrics of the song. And then your organizations like your Sambro and your Capasso manage the revenue collection for composers. Then if you have a publisher, then a publisher represents you. Because some of us, we don't want to do administration, so we'd rather give it to the experts. And publishers in this manner, they are your go-to people if you write music. You can have an agreement with a publisher, and then they will then handle so much work for you so that you don't have to sweat so much, because it's so much work. And some of us really do not understand the language within the music space. So if you give it to our publishers, they are definitely going to assist you. So they manage revenue collection for composers and publishers covering performing, mechanical, and digital rights. There are your summaries, Capasso. You can even do an online membership because things now are digital. Registration with Sambro only costs 100 Rand. It's a once-off fee if you want to be an associate member. You can also be a full member if you want to. Capasso, still the same. It's a fee of 100 Rand, which is a once-off. Sampra is free, you don't pay. Rev is free, you don't pay. Risa is 115 Rand. So all you need is about 315 to become members of the collective management organization that I've just mentioned. It's a once-off fee. Then if you want to be a full member, then the fees are completely different for a full member. Right. How then do we know who has what on the composition? There's something called a split agreement. Now, a split agreement is something that dictates who owns what and in what percentages. So that we know that we've compensated, or they know that they've compensated you correctly as per the splits. And it's something that needs to happen before you depart at the studio, because anything can go wrong if that agreement is not in place. You would walk out thinking that, oh, it's my friend. This is business. By the time you walk out, you're owning 0% on a composition, then there's no way that you are going to get paid. So a split sheet is an agreement that needs to be signed by all parties that have participated on the composition side, meaning the people who wrote. So they are divided. So the copyright royalties split are divided between composers, authors of the work, and their publishers, where one has signed with a publishing company. So it might happen that you are not signed. If you are not signed, don't stress. You will then distribute those royalties amongst the people who wrote the music. But then if you are signed, it means that you have a deal with your publisher individually. There could be 5 people in one studio, maybe only one has a publisher. That person will take his or her share and go subdivide it with his publisher, not the rest of us, because if we don't have publishers, then we don't have publishers. But if every one of us has publishers, we are going to take our share and then we are going to split it out with our publisher, depending on the contract that individual has with his or her own publishing company. So let us not get confused. So the streamline communicates with the collective management organization, CMO, for accurate compensation in a percentage form, just as I've mentioned. So this is basically how the credits look like for composers, for people who are creating the beat. Remember, when we are creating the beat, there are also 2 elements within the beat itself. There is melody and there's instruments. So if your composition does not have any lyrics, the composition alone or the beat alone amounts to 100%, meaning which there's 50% on the melody side of things and then there's 50% on the instrument side of things. Then you decide how do you want to split that, depending on the people that you have worked with. Sometimes some other people, they will decide to say, no, we're just going to say 4 people divided by X amount, then we have an even share. Some other people will be like, no, I've worked so hard for this project. So definitely I'm taking all my 50% on the melody side. That's fine, it depends on how you want to structure your work and how you want to work. Now, if you add the lyrics, the pie becomes slightly smaller, because it means now you no longer have 50%, but rather you have 25%. Because there's 25% of the melody, 25% of the instruments, which becomes 50% just for the beat. Now you're moving to the lyrics. Again, it's 25% for the chorus, 25% for the verse. Then when you combine both, it becomes 100%. And that's how you divide. Each song must have its own information, because split agreement might differ from song 1 to song 2. So that's why it is very important to have a split sheet for each and every song that you are doing. Because the notion of pushing passion in music, it's a very wrong notion. And the notion of pushing my friends, it's my friend, it's my buddy, this is business. And this business is very brutal because there's so much money that is involved. Samro alone, for the quarter on the reports that I just referred you into, they've collected about 682 million on the quarter of 2025. On rights, that is basically for people who write music, because that's what Samro represent. They represent writers. So that's a lot of money. And most of that money is basically on the production side. Because remember, movies, films, they play regularly as opposed to commercial music on radio stations. So there's a lot of money on production. I always make an example, like if you go and watch SABC News, there's this one iconic song that always play every 30 minutes, every hour, from 5 o'clock in the morning up until 10 o'clock. It's one song across about 16 SABC channels, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of money. That particular individual who supplied music for SABC doesn't have to go to a stage and say, can you feel it? No. Because it's making a lot of money based on rights. Because I hope and believe that particular individual owns his or her intellectual property. Samro is paying people that they've never known before, just because they understood from the beginning that there's money under the intellectual property rights. So that's why basically my presentation mainly talks about rights, because that's where the money is. Music publishers, what are they? Music publishers play a vital role in sourcing opportunities for copyright owners, including synchronization deal or sync deals. So, a publisher, as I mentioned earlier on, if you write good music, you need to have a deal with the publisher. I'll make an example again. When production houses go out to source out music, they merely come to individual artists, especially if they work out on a huge production. They rather go to publishing houses, because they know under the publishing houses there's so much music of different creatives that are signed under a publishing house. So it makes life easier for the production houses to just go into one spot and find a huge catalog of music. So if you sign under, you're standing more chances for your songs to be listed on a certain movie or on a certain production. Same thing applies with adverts that we always see as well. Publishers are the ones that always do the negotiations on your behalf, because again, there is a lingo. Because if you go individually against a huge record label, trust me, on this platform, you just have a little corner of negotiation. But if a publisher negotiates on your behalf, then it's a different story. So this deal involves licensing of music, commercial use, films, or other media, boosting more income for you. So, and again, and I also like what Bob Koza said as well earlier on, to say, don't just sit with all the musical works that we have just because you are afraid. If I sell this, or maybe if I license this is what will happen. Just explore. Look for opportunities. Find opportunities. And see what the value is available for you out there. But always consider the value. There are also other intellectual property rights that are beyond what I just spoke about, which is basically, I think he also did touch on the trademarks and patents, within the music space. And not so long ago, we saw an advert of one of the rappers, Unesisi, whereby he actually allowed the KFC to use a trademark yake. They called a meal a Nesty burger. That is a different economic income stream because they had to pay just for a trademark. 2, his song was featured on the advert. That's a publishing rights and a master rights in one. 3, his face was there. That's a brand-related income. So he could have made a couple of millions, not just $1 million. I'm just making examples. Now, what we also need to understand, there's a difference between assigning and licensing on the rights. And that's basically most of the things that are always on the contract. And most of the times people will always say, I was robbed. It is because you did not understand the lingo. Hence I said publishers are the ones that are actually great to do the negotiations. Because assigning, it's selling your copyright. That's simple what it is. So I've just mentioned what benefits and disadvantages it has. So obviously when you sold, there's no control. Meanwhile, on the other side, if you are licensing your music, then you are renting your copyright, but you're not just giving away your copyright. So there are so many ways on how you can work around, but always consider how much money are you going to make. Some of the times, they will buy you out and you look at the amount that they're giving you and you see, no, this is it's a value for me. I can take this. Yes, go for it. If you're happy with that, yes, you can go for it. But if you see the opportunity to license, I think that is a better deal to license. And I thank you.
I was about to say, you've got 2 minutes. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. I hope, we've learned a lot. About grade, I hope you've been answered. Yes, thank you so much. We are learning a lot as creatives. We need to understand the business behind what we do, and not just create amazing work, but we need to protect ourselves as well. So, thank you so much, Dobozo. We're going to go into the next panel discussion. Debopo, do I see Debopo in the room? Debopo Peterson. Our next panel members and our facilitator. Please make sure that they are in the room. We are going to get into a panel discussion on the role of funders in growing South African cinema, and we're going to get insights from government bodies on financing and partnership models. So thank you to the DFO for creating this platform and bringing together all these bodies that are here to empower filmmakers. So we've got a lot to learn. And is Debopo? Yes, okay, and our panel members all here? Okay, great. We are ready to, let's dive into it. So I'm going to hand over to you. You will introduce your panelists and take it away.
Good afternoon. I think the panel can come up. We can give them a round of applause as they're coming up. All right. On the panel we have a very esteemed panel, so I'm very excited. to be facilitating the session. As it's been said, we are very lucky that the Durban office has managed to put together this esteemed panel today, and it's going to be for your benefit, and I hope that you will pay attention and that you will also ask the relevant questions. I think that without your engagement, this whole thing will be useless. You know, we want to make sure that we're answering your questions. It's not many times that you get the opportunity to really engage with so-called funders and make sure that they can be accountable for the funds that have been put into their budgets, you know, and they're there to serve you as the filmmakers and artists in not just KZN, but in South Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us go through our panelists, and the introductions themselves are very important because, you know, I know a lot of the people here, and we were just sitting and talking, but it's really helpful to really get to know these guys, because then when you are applying for funding and when you are engaging with the funds, with whatever fund, you understand what is it that they're looking for, and who is really behind it. So sometimes being personal and really understanding the people behind the post of the job is also really quite important. So I'm really going to allow the next few minutes just to really be an introduction and really understand who you are as a person first, and then what your organization does, and what is the mandate, and what is it that you really like filmmakers. You know, I don't want you to go for too long, but let us introduce yourself and just let us know a little bit about your organization. So we'll just start. Where should we start? Because Rafilia's got the mic. Sorry. Yes. She says ladies first. So. Oh, we won't have mic. Okay, you know what we're going to do? Because the Durban Film Office has organized this event, it's going to be right to give our panelists from the Durban Film Office the first chance to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about the Durban Film Office.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is President Pego. I'm the project manager at the Durban Film Office. I am responsible for development programs, which includes funding. And this is why I'm here, I believe, to talk about the opportunities that the Durban Film Office has when it comes to our local filmmakers. So yeah, thank you.
Durban Film Office. You know, you guys have done something really great to have brought us all here. Can you just tell us, just to summarize what you would like us to take out of this session, just because we started with the introduction, can you just tell us what it is that you really want people to understand from this session today?
Okay, we saw the need for us to have this gathering because we have many opportunities, but we hardly get together as filmmakers and as creatives. So we thought, maybe let us have a summit like this. It's a first of its own, and it's our inaugural event, hoping to have many more to come. And also, I'm not quite sure about the days that we have. I think there's a lot that we can uncover, you know. But with the summit itself, it touches on many topics that sort of affect our local filmmakers. For instance, just yesterday we were talking about social health issues. I mean, that on its own, it's something that we need to deal about. I mean, you see sometimes that our filmmakers die without having a cent, you know. So this is what we would love to sort of have discussions around some of those topics here, and also the networking, you know. We need to not work in silos, but we need to ensure that whatever skill we have and whatever resources we have, we all collaborate and come up with quality projects. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think the collaboration is very important, especially even among funders. I think it's just important that we all understand what we are doing so that we're not all working in silence. So next I'll give an opportunity to sort of Felix Lapierre, who I know very well. If you could just introduce yourself, your position, the structure, and what you're also hoping to impart today in this session.
Okay. My name is Rafilwe Hladiwa. I'm a production and development manager at the National Film and Video Foundation. The National Film and Video Foundation is an agency of the Department of Arts and Culture, and there are various funding opportunities from grassroots level in the form of training, bursaries, and then there's development funding, production funding, post-production funding, archive, and then when you are looking to go and distribute your film, there's distribution funding, as well as market access, which we make available. There's research about the industry, and there's all those kinds of opportunities. I think what I'm hoping for is to make connections with aspiring filmmakers, and we currently have a call open, so just whatever information we can assist with in terms of making those barriers to entry easier.
Yes, we're definitely going to touch on the open calls. I hope you guys are taking note that there's currently an open call at the end of the year. So we are also going to be going a little bit deeper into that. So next I'll give an opportunity to Simon to introduce himself and the organization that he's representing.
Thanks, Tebogo. My name is Simon Makwela. I am the chairperson of the South African Audiovisual Cluster, also under the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. So what the South African Audiovisual Cluster is the Sector Economic Cluster Coordination Board that was set up by the Minister to look at the film, television and cinema sectors of the economy from a country's perspective. We look at it from a position of where do filmmakers and practitioners sit, how to stimulate growth within the economy. We deal with policy across all of the different sectors that are invested within the film industry. This includes the DTIC, which is the Department of Communications, Trade and Digital Communications. We look at it from the perspective of the DCDT, that was the DCDT. The DTIC is the training competition. And then we also look at the Department of Employment and Labour in terms of how labour within the industry also looks as well. What I'd like to get out of this is this session I think is important to inform filmmakers that filmmaking is actually a business. It's not necessarily a passion, but yes, it is driven by passion, but as much as at the end of the day, every life needs to be funded and have money to create a career. So we look at sustainability, we look at how to structure your creative aspirations towards things like budgeting for finance and looking at how to utilize that finance in order to create sustainable businesses within the sector economy. And then from there, we'll obviously look at that at scale and say, how do we contribute as filmmakers to the broader South African GDP and all of those things that come across labor and come across policies and etc. So that's what we do.
Hey, very serious, very serious, very serious. But hopefully we're going to break it down and make it very manageable and understandable for our audience, so that they know exactly what they're going to get out of the session. But I do love it because, as we've discussed before, that we do need producers and we do need people who think in the same way. Because, as you said, it's not, we can't just be passion. What are you going to sell? What is the value at the end of the day? So I'm definitely on your side, and we're just going to break it down a little further.
I just want to add one thing. We don't fund people. We are funded by government, but we don't actually fund. We don't have a fund, so please don't come to me. Go to Rafila. She, the NFVF funds through the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, not us. Thanks.
All right, now you'll get into that. And next we have Mr. Tabang Mohabi, the investment officer at SETFA.
Thanks, Tebogo. Sanibonani. My name is Tabang Mohabi. I'm an investment officer at SETFA. SETFA is an agency under the Department of Small Business Development and led by Delanda Beni. Our core mandate as SETFA basically is to provide financial support as well as non-financial support USEDFA is amalgamation ka former SIFA no SIDA. I'm more on the funding side, which is the financial support side. My role as the investment officer is to assess some applications, funding applications, when they come in, perform EDD on them, go take it through to committee, present, and basically fight for your applicant. Yes, what I wish to by the time we leave here is for Abakona today to have learned even a little bit of something with regards to the expectation of funders, what funders look for my applications, so that when you'll apply, you just have that in mind. Thank you.
And we finally have Tembi Lamsong. Tembi, will you introduce yourself and organization?
Thanks, Debo. For my name is Tembi Lamsong. I'm from the KZN Tourism and Film Authority. This was a recent merger between KZN Film Commission and KZN Tourism. So now we call Tourism and Film Authority KZN Tourism and Film Authority. My job is called a production analyst, and what it is, basically after a filmmaker applies for funding, after they have been approved, I basically project manage that whole stage or that whole phase, whether it be development or production, right up until the end. And basically that's what the authority is for. We are there to basically, our biggest vision and mandate is to promote KZN as the world-class destination for tourism and film. And so we are doing that through marketing, yes, the marketing practices that we ordinarily have, but on the film side, we want to market KZN through the films. So that's, I think, is something that we're going to touch on today. And then more than anything, I hope that today's takeaway is that basically just to introduce to you all this new authority. I know a lot of people still don't know about it, but also what we're looking for in applications now that we're not just film, but now we are tourism and film. Thank you.
Before you hand the mic back, can you just talk a little bit about the structure of the organization? What are the departments and who's who in the organization? Who should people get to know in the organization? Your team, so to speak.
Okay, so in the organization, basically you can say that the organization is comprised of mostly the core pillars of the organizations are the film department and the marketing department. Like I said, our core mandate, our heart is about marketing KZN. That's through marketing practices and film. So we have the marketing department, we have PR, like a normal organization, and we have the marketing department, which is the biggest and the strongest because it is the one that is actually pushing and the engine behind marketing KZN. And then we as the film side are the ones who are going to try and navigate and push the marketing through the visuals that we see through storytelling as well. So I hope that answers the question.
All right, I'll let you go for now. Okay, so all right, let's talk about the opportunities that are currently available for filmmakers. And I'm aware that you're not finding, but let's talk about the opportunities that are available for filmmakers. I know that there are some calls that are out at the moment. Let's talk about those opportunities. Let's just be real about if someone's got a script, if someone's got a project, what currently are they, what should they be talking to your organization about? What is there on offer? And what should the next step be for them? Do they have access to you prior to submitting the application? Can they talk to you? Can they send you their material? What should filmmakers be doing right now to feel a little bit more secure that their applications are being looked at? What is the current opportunity? Let's just talk about some of those opportunities that are available in the different organizations. I'll start with the NFPN.
Currently at the NFVF, we have a call that's open up for bursaries that's closing on the 31st of August. Basically, these are bursaries, local bursaries, so if you are looking to study in the country, mostly it's students or aspirant students who are doing their undergrad as well as postgrad studies. There are various details that are actually on the call. So you basically have to apply to the institution where you like to study. First, once you've gotten your approval letter, then you can send other application documents that are required. They look at things like your academic performance, looking at elements like financial need, and then from a production and development point of view, we've opened up a call, and this is, we're looking for any application really. There's no particular topic of interest. So we're looking for applications that are, centered on either it's documentaries, it can be animation, it can be a fiction project. It doesn't matter which stage of the project it's in. If you are looking to still develop the project, the development process basically is, if you have a project that's still at a concept level and you want to basically turn it into a script, we can give you the funding and the assistance of a script editor to get it to that level, so you apply for that funding. And then if you're looking for production funding, obviously it means that you've already got a fully funded script. You're quite detailed in terms of who your audience is, what the distribution is looking like. You are fully packaged in terms of the funding, where it's going to be sourced from, your budget. We've got post-production if you've already gone into production process and you just need to get it over the line. So there's all of those details that are on the current call, but I think the most important document to engage with is our funding policy, because it's quite detailed in terms of the documentation that we require. Specifically for this call, we've opened it today, and then on the 22nd of June, so between now, if you apply between now and the 22nd of June, you will have something that's called a priority compliance check. So you can have someone at the office, or you can check in to say, I've submitted my application. Can you please go through it and check that all of my documentation is there? The call actually closes on the 6th of July. So please, if you are able to try and apply by the 22nd of June, just so that you can be assisted to just double check that all of your documentation is correct.
Alright, thank you. I think that's very helpful. Alright, I'll try this one. So, that's very helpful. Do you find that a lot of the problem that filmmakers find is more around compliance with their project? That's why you're saying people can apply early and so you can help them.
It is around compliance. I'd actually encourage people to always be ready, right? Because you never know when a call for funding is going to be available. But what's nice is that if you get accustomed to the funding policy, then you always know what is required. So I think it needs to sort of be a Bible that you have, right? So I'd personally encourage that, if you know that you are looking for this specific kind of funding, then already have a folder with that particular project, so that you know that, okay, we need a synopsis, we need this, so that you slowly gather your documents, so that when something opens up, you're actually equipped to just apply early and get assisted. I think a lot of applications unfortunately fall through the cracks because of very small things like not certifying an ID, or people applying on the very last day and there's an influx of applications. So I think being prepared is one of the greatest things I think.
No, I really like that. I think a lot of us as filmmakers, we waiting until we see there's a call for films and then we are creating it. So that really means that when you guys are looking at and evaluating it, what you see is a very unprepared application. So I think for filmmakers, it's really important that you really do already have, as she said, you already have your documents together, so that by the time you are submitting them, it's not a last minute gig. Can we hear about other opportunities that exist in whoever wants to go next, in terms of whatever's open, what's available at the moment?
Thanks, Deboho. Not not open currently, but will be open. A call will be open sometime soon, I think before the end of this month. There was a call that went out by ERA. It was retracted because of we had to just align it to the new policy that is being revised. But the new one is going to come up by the end of the week, by the month, sorry. And it's the same, very similar to what Rufida was saying, but obviously this is provincial. It's development, it's production, it's post-production funding, and obviously there's always a call out for market access as well. And also do skills development, and there's going to be a call out that's going to come out for makeup, but especially effects makeup. I like what Rufida has said and emphasized for that. We always have a problem with, last minute applications where the smallest things can grant an application disqualified. And you might find that the project is actually an excellent concept. So yes, I do encourage that we do apply and apply ourselves before the call out actually comes out, so that we have our ducks in a row. Very, very important with our side. It's not just concepts or stories this time. Like I said, now we are marketing the province. So just remember at the back of your head that when you're sending in an application, consider the province and how we're going to market it and showcase it. The director's treatment, you're going to even maybe motivate how we're going to have those aerial shots or drone shots of the landscapes of KZN. So it's something just to consider, because we're coming from an old era to a new one. So that's something that's going to be coming up.
Great. Durban from office?
Thanks, Deborah. Maybe I need to mention this first. Durban Film Office used to be a department under economic development. It's at a municipality, but now we've since moved over to recreation and parks. So I'm saying this because I see a lot of opportunities coming up in future. Mr. Simon, who is also the manager at the creative unit or department, some sort of under recreation and parks. So we do accept unsolicited proposals. We have a way of evaluating them. So now that we are under parks, so we are sort of looking at how we can simply fast track having the resources that we come with together with the resources from parks. So now in terms of the programs that we have, we do have a micro-budget film fund. We also have development fund. So with the micro-budget film fund, that's where our main focus is at the emerging filmmakers, where we give them funding. And I have to announce this, although prematurely, but it has been approved, I must say. So we will increase the amount. Previously, we used to fund them with 350,000, but now it's going to go up to 400,000. And we have also increased the number of the projects that we'll be funding for micro-budget from 3 to 5. And for development projects, we will increase them to 3. I know it's a small thing. We are acting local. I've got big guns here, the province and national. So, but this is where we are at now. I just wanted to mention that now that we are under parks, we could see a lot of other programs coming into the space, and also we do encourage filmmakers whenever they are invited to attend film festivals. That one is open throughout the year. Wherever you've been invited to, or if your project has been invited to be screened in wherever in the world. So we do have funding for that as well. So those are basically the opportunities that I thought I should share with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. much. Thank you so much. You mentioned the word unsolicited, and just for the purpose of just being clear with the audiences, that means that if you have a project, any time you don't have to wait for the call, because I think for most of the time how we're used to working is that there's a call out. So you're waiting for a call out, but if they're saying, okay, you don't have to wait for us to have a call out, you can actually just send your proposals. That's right, that's what you're saying?
That's correct, yes. And another thing is that we also do fund film festivals, local film festivals. We have, I think, we are now funding about 5 of them in all the regions within the municipality, being the south, the west, the north and central. So those are some of the unsolicited proposals that we normally get. But even for films, we do accept them.
Oh, wow. I'm very impressed, because I do think film festivals and film markets like this, they are important, and there's a lot of information sharing that happens here, so it's very, very important for the people who are accessing the funds. Do you want to, Mr. Makwela, do you want to go into a little bit of the opportunities that are available on your side, even if it's just terms of advice and so on? Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Thanks, Tebogo. I want to break the rules a little bit. By a show of hands, how many producers are sitting in this audience? Okay, so we've got 2. How many people have produced a film here before? Okay, that's about 10 people, 5 people.